Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. There's been a lot of attention on healthcare in the Northwest Territories recently. Doctors have been saying staff shortages are creating a crisis. Just weeks ago, the NWT Medical Association warned that the ER in Yellowknife could close sometime this month. And Hay River was without any on-site doctor for a week. This afternoon, MLAs got to ask the NWT Health Minister and the heads of the Health Authority about some of those issues. Sarah Kromolowski joins me now with more. So Sarah, what was this meeting about?
So this was a meeting of a standing committee. It was a regularly scheduled meeting where the NWT Health Authority's public administrator was presenting about the work that he's doing to improve the NWT healthcare system. But this meeting was also one of the first chances that MLAs have had to get their questions about what's going on in the health system answered since these concerns about staffing shortages really came to the forefront kind of earlier this month in the last few weeks. And they had a lot to say. The meeting went about an hour over its allotted time. A lot of the MLAs really wanted to know what the NWT Health Authority is doing to address these potential shortages at the Yellowknife Emergency Room. And they also really wanted to know what the Health Authority was doing to address concerns from the Medical Association and really the tension that we've been seeing over the last few weeks between doctors and administrators with the Health Authority. Here's Frame Lake MLA Julian Morris asking a question about this.
Why do we continue to hear from practitioners that they feel they're not being listened to and that the system is not responding to their concerns?
It's a mystery to me. And the reason I say that, and I don't mean to be flippant, but I want to say that I've been meeting on a regular basis with the association. These matters have been raised. There's an open opportunity to raise the matters with administration presence.
And later, Florizone did have a bit of a change in tone, and he acknowledged that there are serious concerns when it comes to staffing at the Yellowknife ER. Take a listen.
When we say the emergency room will not close, the reason why we have staffing this weekend in that emergency department is because of the goodwill of the emergency room doctors and the staff who have canceled their plans, who have adjusted, and we continue to do this time and time again, is have them adjust their plans to be able to accommodate our ability to maintain service.
But many of the MLAs, especially those from Yellowknife, were really pushing for more concrete commitments to give frontline staff, more support.
Yeah, Sarah, it seemed like definitely a lot of the NWT MLAs weren't too happy with the health authority during this meeting. Tell me a little bit more about the conversations that were being had.
Absolutely. There was definitely some frustration for sure and some tension between the MLAs and the health minister and the public administrator who were answering questions. But there was also some good news and good feedback from MLAs. One of the things that Florizone really highlighted in his presentation is that in his role, he really wants to focus on small communities. He spoke a lot about how he's been working hard to engage with leaders in more remote regions of the territory. And he specifically told a story about visiting a health cabin in Jean Marie River and basically how seeing that, he said that this shouldn't be happening in Canada. That's what he said, direct quote. And he says that really getting those people in communities like Jean Marie River better care closer to home will be his #1 priority as public administrator for the health authority. And that was something that MLAs from smaller communities said that they were really happy to hear. And Tlicho MLA Jane Whalen Armstrong also thanked the health minister for advocating for that as well.
For a long time, we feel like small communities were forgotten. Nobody listens to us, So I am very grateful, thankful that, Minister is from a region where she's surrounded by small communities that have, is going through the same experience as all these other small communities with limited access to health care.
Florizone says that he hopes to start some of the healthcare reforms that he'll be working on in the Decho, small communities, places like Jean Marie River. And he says that other staff will be looking at each patient and really how at every step they could maybe be getting care closer to home and making that happen. He also says that he's going to keep meeting with the Medical Association and staff to address their concerns.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarah. That's the CBC's Sarah Kromolowski reporting live tonight. The Quebec government is stepping in to help with the water crisis in Nunavut. The village's pipeline has been frozen since March. Residents have struggled with low supply and at times no supply of water, and it's leading to some evacuations at the hospital. Samuel Watt has the latest.
Pevernatuck's supply of water has worsened in recent days. The Quebec government got the emergency call 2 days ago. Now some hospital patients are being evacuated to places like Montreal for care.
A hospital or any advanced healthcare institution can't operate without running water for a prolonged period of time.
While 2 planes loaded with water are heading to the village before another blizzard hits.
For some people, there will be a need for evacuation, and if this is the case, we'll be ready to do so. Our planes are ready for that.
The frozen pipeline from March still hasn't thawed, meaning the village has to drive further to truck water, slowing delivery. These slushy, snow-clogged roads are hampering those efforts. The village is also fighting a rise in gastroenteritis, and prevention of that often relies on water.
You can clean your hands with alcohol solutions. That gets you only so far. It is something that will prevent germs from transmitting, but you also need to do things like clean your bathroom.
The lack of water and sewage collection is stinking up homes too.
I had to pick up snow to melt for the toilets.
All while exams are on and issues at home are affecting attendance for some students.
If they don't have water and they're sick, there's really only so much we can expect from them.
Work has started on a temporary replacement pipe, but that won't be ready until June due to the pile-up of snow and sub-zero temperatures. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Iqaluit.
The Daily Council in northern British Columbia is enacting a community lockdown in Lower Post. About 300 people live in the community. It's just 10 minutes south of the Yukon border with BC. The council says violence and drug activity is on the rise, so it's locking down the community because of safety concerns. For now, only residents of Lower Post are allowed to be there.
We're seeing more of the activity in the evening time. So again, a roaming patrol in the community from, I believe it's 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And again, just active communication with the local RCMP detachment. To again patrol the community by foot or vehicle, deter unauthorized movement or monitor any breaches of lockdown protocols. So again, it's more just showing these unwelcome individuals that it takes an active community to be healthy, and that we're all standing united in this front to saying it will not happen here in Lower Post.
Starting today, unknown vehicles will be stopped and directed to leave. Immediate family members or spouses need approval from council to come in. Residents who host known drug dealers or violent people may lose their housing. A community meeting is planned for May 20th. It's been more than 2 weeks since the federal election, and the results for Nunavoot still haven't been validated. That's because one ballot box didn't arrive in Iqaluit for counting until today. The ballot box from Nunavut had been stranded in Rankin Inlet because of bad weather and flight delays. The unofficial results have NDP incumbent Lori Idlaut winning the seat by 77 votes over the Liberal candidate, Kilikvak Kabluna. Idlaut says the delay has been frustrating and has left her in a state of limbo.
Having to wait to schedule my swearing in, having to wait to start contacting places to set up my office. So it's been a bit frustrating to have to keep waiting because of these delays.
As of Friday afternoon, Elections Canada says there are approximately 80 votes to be counted. Official results will be posted to the Elections Canada website once they have been validated. An NWT Supreme Court justice has resentenced a Nunavoot man convicted for a 2012 sexual assault. Noel Avadluk was declared a dangerous offender in 2017 and given an indefinite prison sentence. Avadluk later appealed that sentence and won. Today, he learned how much time he still has to serve. Nadir Hashmi has more on the decision.
Both Noel Avadluk's lawyer and the prosecutor recommended a sentence of 10 years custody followed by 10 years of supervision in the community, and Justice Louis Charbonneau agreed. Avadluk has been in prison since its original sentencing for what the judge described as a sudden, brutal and sustained sexual assault. It happened in Yellowknife and was his second sexual assault conviction. He has a total of 43 criminal convictions. Avidlook attended this morning's sentencing by video from the Bath Institution, a prison near Kingston, Ontario. He has just over 2 years left on his 10-year sentence. He will then remain under supervision similar to probation until August 2037. Justice Charbonneau says her decision was partly based on a new psychiatric assessment. It concluded Avidlook's risk of harming others is manageable. That contradicts a previous assessment that found Avidlook's risk to the public would not decrease with age. Charbonneau called Lorasby's report thorough and fair. Avidlook will be in his 60s when the supervision order ends in 2037. Charbonneau warned him that any breaches could lead up to another 10 years in prison. The judge also recommended the Correctional Service and Parole Board use Lorasby's report as a resource for managing Avidlook's risk of reoffending and guiding his safe reintegration into the community. Nadir Hashmi, CBC News, Yellowknife.
We're learning more tonight about the driver charged in a crash that killed Yukon's Deputy Environment Minister. Robert Smallwood is a 25-year-old from Warm Bay, British Columbia. He faces 4 counts related to the crash last August. That's when a vehicle collided with a truck carrying Deputy Environment Minister Michael Prochaska and Minister Niels Clark. Prochaska died and Clark was injured. Smallwood has been charged with dangerous driving causing death, dangerous driving causing bodily harm, careless driving, and driving at an unreasonable speed. His first court appearance is scheduled for June 25th. The man who triggered an emergency alert in Arctic Bay, Nunavut last week has been charged with attempted murder. RCMP responded to a call on May 8th about a man firing a gun in the community. It resulted in 1 person being shot. The victim's injuries are considered non-life-threatening. The gunman also fired on police when they arrived. No police officers were injured, and the man was arrested without further incident. A 25-year-old man has been charged with 2 counts of attempt to commit murder and 2 counts of discharging a firearm with intent. He's currently in custody in Iqaluit. His next court appearance is scheduled for June 3rd. A blizzard shut down Nunavut's capital yesterday, leaving the entire city without power. Some residents spent close to 7 hours without power. 80-kilometer-per-hour winds pelted snow across the community. Goodlick Energy Corporation says the outage was caused by a generator shutdown. Schools, stores, and offices were all closed, and city services were suspended. As of this afternoon, things were back up and running, but meteorologists say the city isn't in the clear yet.
The winds will start to pick up on kind of Saturday night, Sunday morning. Looks like maybe gusts between 50 and 70 kilometers per hour, but it does look like there is going to be a fair bit of snow involved with this one. Might end up being anywhere from about 10 to about 25 centimeters of snow.
Temperatures are expected to hover around 0 this weekend, with wet snow on the way. The storm is expected to clear before Monday morning. The Nita Council says it needs to be more involved in how the town of Nunavut operates. The town is on Gwich'in lands, so the Nita says Nunavut Town Council needs to include them. But Nunavut's mayor says council makes sure to get input from everyone. The CBC's Des Loreen has that story.
The president of the Nita Gwich'in Council says the town of Nunavut needs to do a better job in respecting the roles of the Gwich'in in the region. The Nita outlined their concerns in a news release posted to Facebook last week, describing issues with waste management in the community as well as with zoning and planning. The council's president says the Gwich'in should have more say because Nunavut is on traditional Gwich'in land.
Nunavut is a very diverse and multicultural community. It's a shared community, but we are rights holders in the community. We're not just stakeholders. And the town of Nunavut recently is not showing us the respect that we should be getting with respect to our rights.
Nunavut's mayor says all levels of Indigenous and non-Indigenous leadership gets input into the community. Peter Clarkson says he hopes the communication between himself and McLeod improve.
Yeah, I just wish it wasn't so negative. The negative energy never does anything for a community. We need to come together and work together as an entire community. And that's working together where everyone comes to the table as an equal partner.
The town of Inuvik sent a letter to the NTAT in response to their concerns. McLeod says the NTAT Gwich'in Council will review it before responding. Des Loreen, CBC News, Inuvik.
There's pushback from First Nations against allegations of caribou slaughter and wastage near the Nunavut border with Manitoba. The issue came up in the Manitoba legislature this week after a lodge owner raised concerns over caribou remains found on his property. Josh Crabb reports.
The remains of caribou can be seen in piles on the property of Newelton Lake Lodge. These aerial images were captured April 11th and released by the lodge. It has sparked outrage and concern among some hunters and advocacy groups.
What we've seen was, numerous kill sites of caribou, a lot of destruction of property.
Chris Heald with the Manitoba Wildlife Federation sent staff to the site at the owner's request a week after the video was taken. He says they saw the remains of between 50 and 75 caribou, including cows and fetuses. He argues no one should be allowed to hunt when pregnant caribou are migrating. The Manitoba Conservation Officer Service and RCMP also went to Newelton Lake Lodge. Sergeant Paul Meneg says the Mounties are investigating damage to the lodge, while conservation is looking into possible wastage. Officers spoke to a group hunting in the area Meneg described as cooperative, and they got reports there were only 9 caribou visible at the time.
Unfortunately, that's the drawback of social media is people are going to see short snippets or photos that may not tell the whole story.
The barren ground caribou in this area are not at risk, but the population is in decline. First Nations and Inuit harvesters are known to hunt in this area, which is traditional Dene territory, to feed their communities. The chief of the Northlands Denisulan First Nation says they condemn wastage and want to cooperate with police.
We've been living off the caribou for generations, hundreds, thousands of years.
Myron Cook is a First Nations harvester and land protector from Barren Lands First Nation. He wasn't part of the caribou hunt. Cook says there are certain times of the year where not all parts of the caribou are used, but he says it's unusual to leave any meat behind.
There's protocol when we hunt. Like our rule as hunters and land users is don't take more than you need and don't take more than you can use. Don't take more that would fit in your toboggan and don't let anything go to waste.
A previous owner of the lodge had a long-standing agreement with hunters, allowing them to use the land and the lodge. Newelton, under its current owner, filed a lawsuit 2 years ago against Northlands Denisulan First Nation, as well as the provincial and federal governments. The suit alleges the lodge was excluded from treaty land negotiations. The matter is still before the courts. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
An NWT MLA wants to hire a coordinator to make his food bank plan a reality. Danny McNeely, who represents the Sawtoo, is trying to set up a food distribution hub in the region, and he wants to pay someone to oversee the project. The CBC's Leanie Lambrink has more.
When people ask for flour, we get that. I think we get flour requests like the most.
Yeah. Heather Barassa volunteers at the food bank in Fort Good Hope in her spare time. She takes requests and referrals, builds hampers, delivers them. It's a small operation run out of the basement of a church.
But as it is now, it's very much like at request, and we don't have anything organized. We don't advertise. It's just through referral and word of mouth. And I think that perhaps in the future, with more supports, it can grow if the community wants that.
McNeely's idea is to have a cache of food somewhere in the Sawtoo. It would then be regularly delivered to all the other communities. He wants to build off food support services that already exist.
If you take Fort Good Hope, for example, there's a pantry there at the basement of the mission building. It's small, but it could be improved to a larger scale and more convenient in a central location.
Food Banks Canada is partnering with McNeely on the idea. The organization was in the Sawtoo last week to share the plan and find people who can help make it a reality. But some residents aren't sure where the effort is going to come from.
Is this another burden that's going to come to us here? And does it have that extra resources that they can pay for in the community? And Is it worth it?
And due to like the cost of living, everyone's so worried and, you know, trying to put food on their tables and stuff, that it's hard to come together as a community when we're all worried about ourselves. We're all worried. Yeah.
So how could this all come together? McNeely wants to hire a coordinator to help make it happen.
Ideally, what you would like to see is have a SATU coordinator overlooking the food banks of the communities and making periodic trips to the communities and talking to the receivers and talking to the customers and talking to the leadership. How is it working? Where can we improve?
McNeely says he has a few candidates in mind, but he'll also need to find funding for the position. McNeely says he's going to talk to the Territory and Nutrition North Canada about sharing the cost. He says he's going to do everything he can to make it happen. Leanie Lambrink, CBC News, Yellowknife.
A Yukon women's support group was in Whitehorse on Thursday for a glass-blowing workshop at Lumel's studio. The group is called Building Our Matriarchs. It's been gathering in Carmacks, and it aims to empower women and strengthen relationships within Little Salmon Carmacks First Nation. Virginie Ann has their story.
Fragile, fleeting, and formed in fire, blown glass is a lot like the relationships between women, powerful, delicate, and shaped by heat and care.
I see a lot of power. I think women are really powerful together, and when we work together, we can create very beautiful things. I see women as creators. Like, we give birth, we create families, we create homes, and I think it's really important that women work together to make things beautiful, really.
This supportive group of women is called Building Our Matriarchs, an initiative between Little Salmon Carmacks First Nation and the Yukon government. The group drove all the way from Carmacks to Whitehorse for this workshop. But they're forging more than just molten glass. They're shaping community, resilience, and sisterhood.
It feels like we're all girls again. It feels like we're all teens just giggling about silly little things, and everyone just kind of adds something to the conversation, and it's just a really nice vibe. You definitely feel a lot calmer and closer with your community.
Bill says the group answers a need to have a supportive network of women within the First Nation. She says after spending time away from her community, making connection hasn't been the easiest task.
In the past few years, I've been feeling a little disconnected from my community, so joining the group like this has made me feel a lot more intertwined with it.
Here, some of these women are strangers, some are friends. They're from different generations and walks of life.
Women often have additional hardships compared to their counterparts in life. Many of these women work and are mothers. Some of them are single mothers, and they work very hard. And I think that coming together, women are stronger, they heal together. And so it's a very powerful initiative.
Galbraith says the only requirement is to show up. The initiative meets as often as possible since 2023, whether it's for a workshop at a conference, on the land, or around tea.
It's kind of evolved into ladies coming with their problems and then just having all those generations of knowledge to find solutions, or at least have someone to talk to, and then go back and feel so much better for the next couple weeks until women's group happens again.
To feel better is exactly why Melody Reynosa decided to join the group. Reynosa's husband, Robert, passed away only 7 months ago. She came here to mold a vase that will cradle her husband's photo in a single rose. But just like the heat of the furnace is softening the glass, this group is softening the ache in her heart too.
Being with the ladies and that, I feel at ease, and I don't feel so lonely in that. And you know, they give me comfort, and I can talk to them, you know. And when I leave these groups, I don't want to go home. I don't want it to end.
Building Our Matriarchs reminds women that even in hardship, including in grief, they are still powerful. When asked what she loves most about being a woman, Reynosa grind.
I could boss men around. I joke.
And with that, the vase that Reynosa is creating becomes more than a memorial. It's a testament to strength, humor, and the unbreakable beauty of women supporting women. Virginie Ann, CBC News, Whitehorse.
The May long weekend is a popular time for people to get out camping. It marks the unofficial start of summer, but In the NWT, if you're going to some territorial parks, you will find one important thing missing: water. You have to bring your own. With temperatures still dipping down below zero at times, NWT Parks says water will not be available at Fred Henny, Prelude Lake, Reed Lake, and North Arm Territorial Parks. People are being told to bring what they need for drinking, cooking, and putting out campfires. Now let's take a look at your weather. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. We leave you tonight with a special graduation. Nunivut Sivunik held its graduation yesterday. The Inuit College in Ottawa had its largest graduating class in its 40-year history, 51 grads. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Congratulations, grads, and have a great weekend.